I've seen quite a few drum clinics, most of them on this stage, in fact. I'm lucky enough to have a great drum shop right near me, West Coast Drum Shop, and I'm also lucky enough to be called in to photograph and film most of the clinicians that come through. And in the past few years, we've had a really good selection of clinicians come through. So some of the clinics that I've seen personally in no particular order include Chris Coleman, Isaac Jamba, Dan Weiss, Nate Smith, the other Nate Smith, Matt Garska, Jason Nagur, Rich Redmond, Thomas Lang, Mike Clark, Stanton Moore, Eric Moore, Todd Zuckerman, Mike Johnston, Alex Cohen, Brian Tichy, Ramon Montignier, Ramon M., Grayson DeKrootman, Kenny Aronoff, Peter Erskine, JP Bouvet, Dave Elich, Andy Prado Jr., Tommy Igo, and many more that I can't think of off the top of my head. Having seen all these clinics, I had some thoughts I wanted to share with you. My first major point is that clinics are worth seeing. I distinctly remember the first time I heard Eric Moore in a small room about 10 feet away from me and what that sounded like and what that felt like. Up until that point, I'd only seen him and other pro drummers through speakers and on screens. And if you think about it, that's how most of us see our heroes most, if not all of the time. We hear them on recordings, we hear them on YouTube videos, and even if we're in the same arena as them, we're usually hearing them through close mics going through giant line arrays with us, back in the nosebleeds. So think about it. Most of us have never actually heard our favorite drummers play drums. Except, of course, in a drum clinic. I can tell you that there is a big difference between listening to an Animals as Leaders record and then sitting right there and feeling the air pressure from Matt Garska's kick right here. For me, it's such a different experience to hear and feel a drummer in the same room with the instrument, the actual acoustic instrument pushing the air in the same room that you're in. It reveals so much about their touch and about their playing and just the physicality of how they approach the instrument. And you don't get that through video or through recordings. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with listening to a drummer in an arena or on a record, but it's a totally different context. And I can tell you, as someone that has seen a lot of these drummers that I've heard through records over and over and over again, that there is nothing quite the same as hearing them on the instrument in the room. And it's crazy that drum clinics are this odd little niche that provide us this experience and this opportunity. If you're anywhere near a drum shop that puts on clinics, you have the opportunity to come and sit right in front of one of the best drummers in the world, watch them play, and then directly ask them questions. Think about how unusual that is in the context of our industry or other industries. Like, can you imagine amateur actors being able to pay $30 and then go hang out in a small room and have Robert De Niro run scenes right in front of them and then ask him direct questions? Like, it would never happen. I've also learned that clinics often aren't what you expect, or that it's worth kind of recalibrating what your expectations are on a clinic-by-clinic basis. Some are extremely educational, some are just entertainment, some are inspirational, and some are a combination of those three things. And some don't quite hit the mark on any of those. It definitely is a skill to be a clinician, and from what I've seen, all the drummers that have been on this stage have been fantastic, and they've all excelled in different areas. I've always found something worth taking away from a clinic, even if it wasn't something that the clinician said explicitly, even if it wasn't an answer to a question. It might be just hearing in person how loudly someone hits their kick, or noticing what kind of grip someone is using, or it might really just be the entertainment value of watching someone with crazy chops go bananas. Like, that might be worth the price of admission alone. One thing that I think a lot of people coming into a clinic hope to get and are sometimes disappointed that they don't get is like an itemized lesson plan for them. Or they see their favorite drummer and they think, okay, I'm gonna ask this question, I'm gonna watch this clinic, and then I'm gonna know how I can be as good as that drummer. And of course, that makes no sense. When JP Bouvet came through, I took a private lesson with him and we were discussing one of maybe the worst questions to ask a clinician, a totally fair question, but one that is rarely ever relevant, which is an audience member asking a clinician, what are you practicing? The problem is that they're probably going to answer you honestly, but how relevant is that answer to you really? Is it really relevant to me what Thomas Lang is practicing right now or what Dan Weiss is practicing right now? These guys have gone on a journey learning all of their specific sets of vocabulary that only they have been on, and it would be crazy for me to think that I can just jump ahead in line and start practicing whatever one of these guys is practicing right now and then suddenly be able to play like them. And just to hammer this point home, let's say that in a clinic I was somehow able to garner from Nate Smith exactly what he practiced all through the decades of his life, leading to him being able to play like Nate Smith. I figured all of that out, I got my lesson plan set up, and I spent decades of my life practicing just like Nate Smith so that I can play just like Nate Smith. At the end of all of that, I would just be the second Nate Smith, or someone that is able to play similarly to Nate Smith. But do we really want that? Do any of these artists really want to be able to play exactly like each other? No, I mean, we can take inspiration, of course, and of course I want to know what made these players who they are, and I'm interested in what they practiced, but I'm not interested in what they're practicing right now or necessarily what they think that I should do to be able to play just like them. That's not a relevant question, at least for me, and I don't think it should be for most of us. Asking questions that are relevant to you and whatever it is you're interested in, that seems to be the way to go. And honestly, that's what most clinicians that get up here ask for. They say, who are you? What is going on in your life? What kind of drummer are you? So that they can better tailor their recommendations to whatever it is that's interesting in your life. Or sometimes I'm not even trying to get something new to practice. I enjoyed just as much hearing stories from Jason McGurr on songwriting with Death Cab for Cutie and his relationship with Ben Gibbard. Again, that's worth the price of admission alone. So much of the finite marketing dollars in our relatively small industry is going to YouTube videos and online marketing right now, which I totally understand. I love watching minor artists in a big, beautiful studio recording to tracks, and for those companies, those videos can potentially reach thousands of people rather than the dozens that can fit into a room. Regardless, there is something special about drum clinics, and if you're anywhere near a shop that puts them on, I would highly encourage you to go see one. It's good for you as a drummer, it's good for the drum community, and it's an experience that very few other industries provide. West Coast Drum Shop is where I'm at right now, and if you're anywhere near Washington State, there will definitely be clinics coming up, so come by and say hi. I'll probably be somewhere around here taking photos or videos, getting in your way. But if you have any specific questions about any of the clinicians or the artists that I mentioned, go ahead and drop a comment and I'd be happy to kind of give my impression of the clinic, or if you had any specific questions about them, I'd be happy to try and answer them. Also, feel free to drop your clinic experiences down in the comments below. Go see the next clinic that's near you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.